Okay. Just getting everything checked out there. Hopefully everything is going okay for everyone out there. A little bit later than normal this time around, but like I said, just kind of when I switched around the schedule, I forgot about some prior engagements that I have for May. But I think we're all good here. Yeah, we have got kind of a full week. We have, I think, about 15 or 16 albums that we're going to get through, and I'm not going to waste too much time here. Just to let everyone know, we have some electronic. Well, we have one electronic release, and that's kind of electronic, and you'll understand when I get to it. Then we have a few pop and indie releases, then a few rap and hip-hop releases, and this week the bulk of everything, kind of like it was last week, is going to be rock and metal. I feel like the rock and metal genre, when it comes to holidays and people being off, they just don't really care because their audience is going to be there regardless. But we're going to start things out, and let me go ahead and all right, there we go. So the first release here is the electronic one. This is Jasnazima, or sometimes when I read them here on the stream, it makes a lot more sense. Jasnazima. And the album is Vdruг, медленно, тронулся лед. This is a musical project from Murmansk with some guests that took part on here. You can see them highlighted here. It's by electronic musician Vyacheslav Krasnov, or Krasnov probably. Vyacheslav uses acoustic instruments, bass guitar, and field recordings to create compositions of the tranquility and beauty of the winter. It's on the edge of post-rock, so I did think about including it there. But there's also a very heavy ambient indie music streak here. It's kind of like Sigur Rós, M83, Explosions in the Sky, Grouper, all of those kind of groups. It's somehow very sparse yet dense simultaneously. It's the type of music that Pitchfork would have been gushing about 15 years ago, and probably likely still to this day. I don't really know. It's not the type of music that I would have expected early in May. But given the cold weather we had here in Russia, especially in Moscow, and also the fact that our building was in the first wave of buildings to have their hot water turned off, which when there's no hot water flowing through the pipes in the building, it immediately drops the interior temperature a few degrees. So this kind of wintry, icy vibe fit quite well. So yeah, let's just give it a listen, and I think you'll pick up on what I was going on about. Field recordings at the beginning, so let's jump ahead. So it's very, like, tranquil. That is definitely the word. And yeah, it's very, it's not quite post-rock, it's not ambient, it's very meditative as well. It's a nice album. I listened to it a few times and just was kind of in a zone while listening to it, and so again, is it electronic music? Is it ambient? Is it post-rock? yes, kind of to all three of them. It's doing its own thing. But I would still say it is definitely more electronic than anything else, so that's what we're going to call it. And there is like a very heavy post-rock vibe here. Of a specific flavor of post-rock, to be sure, but it is definitely there. So... So yeah, that is Vdruг, медленно, тронулся by Jasnazima, and just a nice, meditative, spacious, but also very densely layered piece of ambient / electronic music. Just a nice, relaxing little thing to kick us off here, and it's the electronic release for the week. So, moving on to pop and indie music. We have a release by Petar Martić, who is probably most famous here in Russia for being part of Perья и Кишлак and POPSA, groups that were probably say at their height like 10 years ago, if not more. But he is a Serbian-born Serb, so he's like Serbian. But he's a Russian musician, and this is his second small release in his native language since relocating there to Belgrade. A Moscow court found Petar guilty of propagandizing narcotics and kicked him out of the country. Mind you, Petar had lived here since he was 9 years old when his family moved to the country. Yeah, so good stuff. Anyway, about the music, this is... Oh, I forgot to do the album artwork. The album, or the EP Cafe Bar Almira, is a smoky, funky, jazzy little affair. It's very chill, but it's also quite different from a lot of the stuff we've had. And we haven't had anything like this in quite a while, so it's kind of nice. A change of pace. Suppose I can jump ahead. There we go. It's in Serbian. I don't know what it is going on about, but the sadna I kind of get, but you know. It's different. They have it labeled as jazz. It's not really jazz, but it definitely has quite a bit of that energy in there. Just very laid back. And the title track. Is that smoky, jazzy atmosphere that I was alluding to. So, yeah, definitely something a little different. Again, it's Serbian. Petar is technically a Serb, right? He got kicked out of the country because he's not a Russian. But this is an artist who was kind of a big part of the Russian indie rock scene for a long time. So, kind of got to talk about him. Because, I mean, the Russian internet was talking about him, and I think they still kind of consider him one of their own. So very chill vibes, though. Very chill vibes. Just a nice little EP. So yeah, that is Petar Martić, and the album is Cafe Bar Almira. All right, up next is one which I am going to... the EP is Немногмъ and Какъ Яхотны Перья, I think is how you say that. I've never seen that before. I'm assuming it's very old. It's done like in this sort of old Cyrillic style or older Cyrillic style. This showed up on Yandex just today. Before that, I had dug it up on Vkontakte. It's neo-folk. It's got a very strong indie bend to it. The music is focused around traditional faith and the Russian Orthodox Church, but the music feels very, very fresh and new. It's not really the same style, not even necessarily close to it, but while I was listening to this EP, I kept thinking of Bon Iver's For Emma forever ago, and then while listening to that, it just like that kept coming up to my mind. It's the earnestness and the sense that the music here is attempting to like touch something beautiful, like go for this transcendental feel. So very nice vibes all the way around. Just jump into it. I think you'll pick up on it. This threw me for a loop though, like the keyboard horns. So, but it kind of falls away. You could also say it reminds a little bit of Beirut, right? Or Hawk and the Hacksaw. Also, I love the vocal delivery. It's just so... And just, it layers and layers. Like again, think Bon Iver. A little different, but it's there. One last sample. Not quite, but you might even be able to like draw a comparison to Iron and Wine. It's a bit of a stretch, but strings, like kind of clapping, weird live studio percussion in the background. It's got like all the hallmarks of that like classic chamber folk indie sound of Fleet Fox's Soufan. Builds, it moves. So yeah, I don't know. It's very short. Realistically, those three tracks that I just highlighted are hands down like the meat and potatoes, and like you can see they're the longest tracks by far. But Немногмъ is the EP, and honestly, The artist Какъ, Яхотны, Перья. I think it's Яхотны. I don't know exactly. I really hope that this artist puts out a full LP in the same style because, yeah, it's done very well. This little EP is, and the artist has a few other releases, but really no full length as far as I'm aware of at this point in time. So, yes, very, very good, very good. But I got to give the top of the pop and indie category this week, even though I love this, and I'm probably going to come back to it again. I would say the top one this week for pop and indie is going. I guess it's not Яхотны, it's Яхотны. So it's Яхотны. Как Яхотны Перья. So, yeah. Anyway, the sort of the topic, it says electronic, but this is definitely a more pop indie release. Mauko and the Future Tension EP. This is like indie pop, art rock. It's got elements of electronic and industrial music in here. It's an album that explores futuristic ideas such as transferring your consciousness. Consciousness into the digital realm, or AI gaining sentience. For example, the story behind this song, Digital Immortality, is about transferring your consciousness, but that the digital people begin to say that they're merely copies and that the original is destroyed or killed in this case in the process, and that this has to be stopped, but then the government says everything is safe and that these voices are merely part of a dangerous cult that has formed among digital citizens. It's kind of like up there, but I like concept albums. I think that's good. We're actually going to see another concept album later on here today. Actually, 2 of them. So concept albums, always good if they're done well and there's like some fun ideas there. Music is mixed very, very well. It's all done by one artist, a Diana, who worked on this for over a year. So good work, kudos. And there's just a lot to hear here as well. And also what's going to be a plus for some people is there are English lyrics. So let's just jump into it. So we got the synths going for the futuristic sound. But then we get a saxophone, things get very dense. And then we have some like more traditional guitars and drums, right? So, an intro track, but almost a little bit of dance energy here. But there's also the atonal aspects. Skipping around makes it feel very disjointed, but all of these disparate sounds and styles, I guess, do flow together quite well. like, it just moves around a lot. Even though it's 5 tracks, there's so much packed into them idea-wise, both in terms of lyrical content and in terms of musical content. So here we have like a little bit of that electronic pop style as well. I want to feel like it's towards the end here. Again, the jumping around does not do it justice. It's just 5 tracks. Ultimately, it's not all that long. You're looking at probably, 15 minutes, give or take. But it's such an enjoyable experience. Like, you can easily put this on repeat, and when it loops back around, it's totally fine. And a big part of that is just, again, that there are so many things going on under the surface here. And if you do actually start to go into the lyrics and kind of pick them apart, especially, like I said, when you understand, it's like, oh, this is connected to like these concept stories that they have here. So really good little EP here. Definitely worth a listen, definitely worth your time. So that is Mauko with the Future Tension EP. And then we move on to rap and hip-hop. And we're going to open with Холодный, and this is Muzıka машину, the EP. This is not their first release. This is a group out of St. Petersburg. Well, from Chelyabinsk via St. Petersburg. It's a mix of lo-fi electro music and house with indie hip-hop. It caught my ear. I'm not going to be honest. Like, it's good. It's good. But what really caught my ear is it reminded me at times of Zолотые зубы, just with a bit more energy and less post-punk. And Zолотые зубы had one of the best albums of last year, just phenomenal thing. And so what made that album so good was the sound, the vibe that they put forth. So any variant of that formula is definitely going to be like a good work. And that's what we have here. So just jump into it. If you're not familiar with Zолотые зубы, then you'll, I guess, find out a little bit about them here too, or what they sound like maybe.
А каково это учиться чувствовать заново?
Like it's super laid back, sort of over it all, indie rap style.
Интересно мне, что скажет Леонид Каневский об этом времени. Хуярит не по-детски или, может, снимут криминальную Россию продолжение, и там будет все очень красиво. И остается танцевать ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла.
This is the one that most reminded me of that sound, though. But, like, it's kind of that vibe through the whole album.
Тема в батон, а на утро столько снега навалило за окном. Полежу под одеялком, безнадега.ком. Никуда не пойду, много времени лежал. 28 портвейн,
This so much like Zolotые зубы.
до конца листаю ленту, настроение окей. Жить может быть угарно, даже если нет друзей. И не успели моргнуть, как наступил февраль. И наступаю мало. И если честно сказать, то мне немного жаль, что я пропала. Еще немного жаль, что я тогда все наоборот. Я слишком не зависим. И не успели моргнуть, как наступил февраль. И наступаю мало.
So again, there's that like techno-ish, very lo-fi beat going through the whole thing, but it's really that indie hip-hop that just sets it apart, that phlegmatic delivery.
Чувствовать как Пеня и Макс, кольцо в носу, и я спасу ее, напишу эмо-сакс. Мне не хватает для счастья что-то типа 2 ляма. И не трястись от суеты, сирота не на ямы.
So, yes, that is the Muzыка в машину EP by Холодный. Just a nice kind of indie rap album with a lot of techno elements there. So, all right, moving on. We have Где-то слышал by a duo here, Где Ноар and Лекс 1707 or 1707, I don't know. 1707, I don't know how he wants to say it. Okay, so just to preface this, listen, I sometimes really enjoy music that's probably all not that great. And this is one of those moments here. The rapping isn't horrible, but it's nothing to write home about. The lyrics are borderline cringe at times, with actually some relative frequency. It's kind of on the level, when I say borderline cringe, on the level of like Lil Jon and the Yin Yang Twins, right? Like, from the window to the walls, or let me whisper in your ear, right? Like, you're just like, yeah. You go back and listen to those songs, and I was like, it was a lot of fun, but man, not the best when it comes to lyrics. But the instrumentals on these tracks have enough variety and energy that it's easy enough to forgive all of that, or just simply ignore it. It's the type of rap that you can just turn on and groove along to. And especially like Big Plus, there's that techno rap, which is so common here in Russia. So, yes, kind of dumb, but kind of fun. And you know what? That's all right sometimes. So I'm going to go ahead and throw a little bit on. Also, the cover artwork is... It's... whatever.
Чё за машина? Хоть ты строя, я на тебе зависаю так, что и не видать целый век и покоя. Я знаю, любишь меня так, что твое сердце выходит из строя. Я на тебе зависаю так, что и не видать целый век и покоя. Мое сердце в свитере укроется.
Like, it is... I mean, again, the chiptune, sort of NES style beats. Gotta love that. It's the dumb pop rap music of, like, you know, the 2020s, which is where we are right now, so. Get a little bit of the rock aspect there, though, too. I feel like you can't have an album, a pop rap album anymore without one of these types of tracks. But I saved it for last. Like, honestly, the first track is just... It's got the goddamn saxophone thing in here. It's so dumb, but so fun. Also the lyrics, goddamn. But it's fun. It's unabashedly fun, and they're not even ashamed about it. And I swear to God, how can you not love a song that has a sax sample like this? Like, it's engineered to be fun, possibly annoying. So yeah, anyway, it's dumb, but it's fun. And you know what? Sometimes after so many albums and so much of it is, not so much of it, but a lot of it is just kind of not very good. And then a lot of it is really good, but kind of serious. And it's something that I'm really, sometimes it's just good to have an album. It's just like, you know what? Screw it. We don't really care. We're just out for a good time. And I can appreciate that. There was like Prez a few months ago had an album like that, and I can appreciate that sort of dumb, fun energy. So the album is Где-то, слышал, and the artists are Где Ноар and Лекс 1707 or 1707. And then the top pick of the week, with honestly probably one of the best / worst cover arts so far this year, is Kишлак, and the album is POPSA 2025. No, I gotta pull the artist up here in a second, because look at these tats. The branding and imagery on this guy feels, I don't know, way more nu metal or something than it does rap. Although rappers in 2025 for sure. Yeah, and it's emo rap at that. I'm pretty sure he's got his eyes tattooed too. So like, sure, whatever. Anyway, though, we've got a fantastic album here, right? Is it rap music? No, not really, not at all. And ignoring that the look our guy is going for here, this is an album that lives up to its name. POPSA is, again, like that sort of dumb, fun, idiotic pop music. I'm putting it in the rap category, even though it's probably kind of in the pop music, because I'm going to give Kишлак his, I don't know, I'm going to keep him in his, what he wants to be, an emo rapper. So anyway, this is a potpourri of pop music in 2025. It's got rap, radio rock, 80s soft rock, and dance-along parts. There are silly songs. There are ones with lyrics that are intentionally dumb. There's stuff that could easily work in TikToks or shorts or whatever here. Just like everything all together. Yeah. Now, is Kишлак going to regret those tats in a decade or so? Likely. Does that have any impact on the music? No, not at all. Just give this a play and enjoy, right, a blend of dumb pop circa 2025. So I'm going to jump around so that you get an idea and enjoy this artwork.
Танцую глупо, как умею, даже когда музон перестает играть, даже когда никто не спорит, все равно потею. Я живу музыкой, мне не что с вами играть. Моя душа между миров, я тому не верю. Тут каждый был готов меня с одеждой сожрать и растоптать мою мечту на тысячи осколков.
Like, it's good.
Привычно было воскресать и умирать. Я делал все, чтоб никогда не упасть до уколов. Тебе танцую, как по кайфу, а музыкой болею.
The child chorus in the background. It's definitely pop music. But it's light. Got a little post-punk as well. Forgot to mention that. Where would we be in Russian music without just a random post-punk jam getting thrown in? So there's just so many different things going on here, but they're kind of all fun, and they're all it's pop music. Like, to be sure, Kишлак definitely does a little bit of rapping occasionally, or like he has some flow or whatever. But it's a pop release, but we're gonna throw it in the rap category.
Никогда таких не трогал, не дотрогал, даже твоя тень.
So, I mean, yeah. There's just a smorgasbord of different sounds. So, it's just a very good album. I honestly, again, like, let's be real, with this artwork, I had no idea what to expect. And then when I took a look at the artist, I was like, I have even less of a clue. Like, this dude right here, with this artwork, I was completely lost. But it's good. It's fun. It's just a nice kind of, it's a pop album. Again, it's in the rap category because that's what he positions himself as, but just a nice, fresh breath of fresh air here. So, yes, POPSA 2025 is the top rap pick of the week, even though it's not really a rap album. So make of that what you will. The artist is Kишлак. And yeah, we're going to move on to the final, what is that, 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Final 9. Oh, wait, hold up. No, it's not. It's the final 8. I had 2 of them open. Fooled myself. Okay, we're in rock and metal now. And we're just going to get into it. First up, we have Бюро 404. Что я искал is the name of the EP. It's the second EP. We have an indie alt-rock group. Sounds a little bit like Dinosaur Jr. or Yola Tango. They aren't afraid to venture into the distorted, noisier edge of rock. And the lyrics and choruses feel like they are ripped straight out of emo at times. It's not a bad thing. So. There's the noisier elements. This is that classic kind of alt indie rock. I'll just jump in. A little faster, a little bit more aggressive. So yeah, if you, like I said, if you like Dinosaur Jr., if you like Yola Tango, if you like those types of groups from that era of the 1990s, I would say, this EP will be enjoyable for you. Yeah, the EP Что я искал, and the artist is Бюро 404. Okay, moving on. So, for those of you who don't know, and if you don't know, you probably don't care, but whatever. A new Doom game just came out, Doom: The Dark Ages. So that's fun. And even though Mick Gordon didn't work on the soundtrack for this one, bit of a falling out after the last game, his influence since 2016 is undeniable, right? We have 3 tracks here of Doom-inspired Argent metal, that sort of sludgy, groovy, genty style that makes you want to rip and tear until it is done. Though there are other elements in this metal, in this music, a little bit closer to chiptune. There are some moments like that, so it's got a bit of the old school Doom vibe as well. It's just like really heavy video game music, but I guess it's like with a science fiction-y story thing here. I don't really know what's going on, but it goes pretty hard. It's all instrumental too, so that's good, right? One, I know you got a nice sample with that first track, but so yeah, I mean, again, if you're familiar with the Doom soundtrack, you know what this is, you know what this sounds like. I'm so happy that Mick Gordon invented this style, or like this subgenre, if you will. And it's great that other people have picked it up and started to run with it. And to be real, the new Doom soundtrack also is pretty awesome as well. So yes, that is A New Way. That's the name of the EP, and the group is Exploration 1. Probably should have mentioned that a little bit earlier, but that's okay. I'm going to hear at the end. So nice little EP there if you want something. Especially it's instrumental too, which is quite nice. Okay, up next, we have another EP. The last of the EPs. And this is Время, мерзостей. And the group is Обычный день. So yeah, it took me a few tracks while listening to this, but when it clicked, it made absolute sense. This is a group that loves Billy Talent. The sound of that group's first self-titled album is all over this, but seeing as that release is still just phenomenal over 20 years after its release, biting that style is honestly a nice choice. It's not a one-to-one with that sound, of course, that's not the case, but there's what makes this stand out a little bit from Billy Talent is that there's a darker, slightly heavier, and slightly slower aspect to the sound, but it's still got a lot of Billy Talent in the DNA. But let's let the music speak for itself. And if you don't know what Billy Talent is, then not a reference that's going to mean anything to you. But if you do, listen. A little slower.
Солнце застыло пятном на стекле, луна растворилась в бассейне без сна. Ненависть к людям в твоей голове, ты совершишь большие дела. Крови и яда полон бокал, глыбы домов
It does pick up. Again, if you know what Billy Talent is, what the sound is, then it's not hard to connect that dot. Like I said, it's a little darker, it's a little heavier, a little slower, but the delivery is how the lyrics are delivered and things in that vein. And if you don't know Billy Talent, then you can probably just appreciate this for what it is, because it's got a good sound.
не могу понять, я проснулся или это сон опять, что вы здесь забыли в комнате. Один стал я тихий, нелюдим.
This is actually the song, like the way the lyrics were delivered, Jared, that like that was what sort of set me up. You could also say it reminds me a little bit of Future of the Left. There's a bit of that there, but also really good groove. So, but yeah, the delivery on this track is really what, like, I was just like, God damn, what is that? What does that remind me of? And it was just kind of good talent.
Чтобы всех вас обмануть. Иначе я вернусь. Присмотрись же, я стою.
Even the riffing is pretty close. So, I mean, maybe it's a coincidence, but I have my doubts. Anyway, regardless, I'm gonna stop talking about Billy Talent.
Снова смысл жизни вник. Что же ты, дружок, паник? Скоро друзья войдут сюда. Будешь улыбаться, как всегда. Ты подожди, пока они уйдут. Погрузись в ванный тихий омут. Слезы из крана уже не текут. Да и из глаз давно не могут. Не дней, которую...
So yeah, the group is обычный день, and the EP is Время, мерзостей. So, yeah, and that's the last EP here. We are moving into album territory for rock and metal. First up, we have МГДЧ. I have no idea what that acronym stands for, not even a good guess. And the album is «Батя кайфа, лицо секса». Also, don't really know what the hell is going on with the album title. But if you had a Venn diagram with the three circles, and one of them was like garage rock, the other one was sort of like a punky a punky pop punk type of circle, and then the third one was irreverence. Right in the middle, you'd have this group. Boisterous, lots of energy, and then dumb and fun lyrics. It's a house party of an album with people passed out on the couch, lots of beer, a haze of smoke hanging around the ceiling, and more than one noise complaint to the cops by the neighbors. But that doesn't stop everyone from puking in the trash cans and raging further. So it's just fun. It's fun. And even the album artwork is like not taking itself seriously in the least. And I appreciate that. Kind of in the same way that I appreciated that rap album. I feel like that last track had more of the punk energy. I would say this is a bit more of that. I guess there's a bit of Ramones going on here. You could also maybe go with like the garage sort of rock. Also, the comparing the album to a house party, I mean, like, the fact that there's a lot of booze in the songs, I think, helps out with that comparison as well. Not everywhere, but... It's just like that dumb fist-pumping, oi, oi, oi type of energy, but, like, not in a dumb punk way, like it's... Got a bit of a HipHop tribute on this track as well. So yeah, the album «Батя кайфа, лицо секса» by the group МГДЧ. Don't know what it means. Don't really care. Really fun album. Really good time. Fast. A lot of energy. A lot of good vibes. So good fun listen. Up next, kind of a reversal in terms of energy and seriousness. We have a nice, noisy, shoegaze, alt, indie rock here. English lyrics. The group also is on a British label, if I remember correctly. There's a touch of post-rock here. There are a few tracks that are all instrumental, but a lot of the regular tracks have kind of a post-rock outro where they just kind of are in this jam mode. It's a very, very good debut. The artists in this group, I guess, were involved in some other projects in the past. I didn't recognize any of them, so. But yeah, it's good. We'll get into it. So again, this is like one of those sections where they're just kind of gonna jam for a little bit. So, or maybe not here. Now there are vocals, but there are whoa-whoa-whoas, so it doesn't really count. The spaciousness, the feedback, right? You get the shoegaze, but there's also, or feedback's more the noisy aspect. The reverb is. This is one of those tracks that, like, when you get to the end of it, they just kind of jam. This is the one I was thinking of. So it's noisy, but not super aggressive in the noisiness. It's also got kind of a lot of space on the tracks where you tune out is not the right word, but zone out maybe. I mean, it's a sound, you know it. Final track is straight up all instrumental, as I believe Palace is as well, if I remember correctly. So, right, like it is a very instrumental album, which I like. I don't know. In fact, a lot of the albums this week, in fact, the rest of them from here on out are going to be not fully instrumental, but there's gonna be a lot of that in there. And I don't know, when done correctly, like as a way to close out the album, I think it's a great idea, especially for an album that is as open sonically as this one is, right? It's just already an echo chamber, like you just kind of jam out, just like they were jamming to finish out the third track, and I believe there's another track where they're jamming out. Like, it's just a nice way. So yeah, that's the self-titled album from Echosalute. It's nice. Just don't know how else to put it. Just a nice kind of loud but not aggressive rock album. A lot of reverb, a lot of shoegazy elements. A lot of post-rock elements as well. A lot of things going on. Very pleasant, which is not something that I would typically say in the rock and metal category, right? Okay, moving on. Then there were three. Sikaraka, I believe is how we say that. Sikaraka is the name of the album by Kolos. It says post-hardcore here. It's very much not post-hardcore. So, math rock and all of the adjacent subgenres that go with it is not a thing that I had thought about for ages. But let's be real. In high school and then in college, I loved Battles, Don Caballero, Dakota, and just a ton of other smaller bands that have gotten lost in the black hole of my iTunes collections from back in the day. Hella is probably the best comparison here. If you're familiar with any of those groups, Dakota's not too far off, but that's a very deep dive. Like I said, Hella is probably the closest group here, but it doesn't have the frantic drumming of Hella. This Town Needs Guns is also similar, but this is an instrumental album, so there's no singing here, whereas This Town Needs Guns typically has singing. Things are also a bit more laid back due to the instrumental nature, but that's not to say that they are slow. Things move along, and while it's not necessarily welcoming music, especially if you're not used to math rock as a genre, it's a bit like avant-garde jazz in the sense that the tracks give you just enough melody to kind of keep stringing you along, to keep you engaged, but it never lets you get very comfortable. Also, album artwork, kind of love it. It's freakish. But yeah, if you're not familiar with math rock, then consider this an introduction. If you are familiar with math rock, then check this album out, especially if you like math rock. And if you just want some instrumental rock, this is also not a bad choice. So math rock, because of the switching up of time signatures, and the time signatures are usually quite unusual. Or they might have multiple time signatures going at the same time. Like the guitars versus the bass right here. Or this time signature. I have no idea what this time signature is. But like I said, right, you kind of like settle into a groove, and then things just switch up. I mean, I can jump around to a few tracks, but I don't think it's really necessary. It's all instrumental, it's math rock, so it's gonna kind of be like this, but there's different energy on different tracks. So So yeah, that is Sikaraka by Kolos. Math rock, very appropriate album artwork when you think of it too. The way everything is just kind of slapped together, and even though it might feel like it doesn't kind of fit when everything's put together, it still does. So yes, nice little dose of math rock, which is a genre which I don't think anybody hears much of, so I gotta call it out, and it's well done. It's very well done, and it is instrumental, so it's probably got a bit more of appeal for a larger audience. Okay, the top two picks. We have got, buddy. The album, 4 tracks, but Jesus, look at this, look at the size of these things. Покинуты, глава первая. and the group is Endless Ocean. So this is the first of a 2-part concept album story about monks from a mýtarstva, which is an aerial toll house for the souls. It was an ancient belief in the Russian Orthodox Church, where on the way to heaven, the soul was escorted by 2 angels, and then they had to pass through 20 of these toll houses, where a sin was presented, and then the soul was weighed to see how much of they did versus how much of like a good deed they did. It's like the weighing of the soul, but they had to go through 20 checkpoints to get there, right? So some monks from the Order of N, and I was reading somewhere that it's supposed to be based on one of the famous icons by Rublev, or maybe I might be mistaken. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So some monks from the Order of N, they decide to leave their home and set off in search of moral truth. So they go on this pilgrimage. They leave the toll house where the weighing of right and wrong goes, and they go off on this moral pilgrimage. And obviously it's like the most important choice of their lives. They discover all of this stuff. Yes. So that's we got a concept album. I said we were coming back to a concept album, but what's the music like? Well, it is progressive post-doom metal. It's a lot of adjectives. I get it. You might be able to understand that, but listening to these 4 meaty tracks, I was constantly reminded of 2 groups. One, Mastodon in the Crack the Sky era, right? And then 2, Opeth. So Mastodon, circa Crack the Sky, and Opeth, just Opeth in general. But those 2 groups together, and then with like a heavy doom streak. Also, there are these backing female vocals, which add a nice little flair to everything. Nice little effect. It's just really good stuff. And obviously, kind of like the problem with Roj last week, when you have like really long tracks, it's hard to highlight them, but I'm just going to jump around in 2 of them to give you an idea. Not gonna lie, the album artwork is kind of bad. Musically, very good. Very exciting. Like the singing for sure reminds me a lot of Opeth. Pretty sure it's Opeth. Don't think I confused myself when writing my notes, but it also wouldn't be the first time. So here we get a bit of that, like, well, not doomier string, but there's this back and forth, right? Which again makes sense based on the concept of the album. This sort of, monks in search of moral truth. Leaving their sort of monastery, if you will, and going out to the world of sin, and right, having the reality of life thrown in front of their face. There are the female vocals. So it's very back and forth. Very long tracks, a lot of time to develop. It's good. It's very good. Again, it's very hard to highlight in just like jumping around and showing bits and pieces, but you put it on, you give it time to breathe. It's probably got more Opeth than Mastodon, but I'm gonna stand by that. Like, we're how far in, and it's just like they're just like going. It's prog metal, but it's post progressive doom. This is very much like Mastodon, though. This is the part that really called to mind Crack the Sky. Yeah, I could jump around more, but again, it doesn't really do much. It just is these disjointed segments. If it's a sound from those weird disjointed segments that seems interesting, I would recommend just diving headfirst into this. It's 40-some minutes. It's like a full-fledged album. And yeah, if it sounded like something that would be of interest to you, I would say that you probably will enjoy this. So yeah, the group is Endless Ocean, and the album is Покинутый, Глава Первая, which is chapter 1. Like I said, it's part 1 of a 2-part story. So, and that brings us to the final album of the week, and it is, oh god, what an album here. Belethor with Prometheus. Now, this is a black metal album at its core, but the group, which is a trio out of Samaro, they released this album as their debut. This is their debut album, and holy smokes, like, this is good. The group themselves label themselves as post-black metal, and that one little prefix there is key, because while the black metal aspect informs the sound throughout here, there's so much more. This is an album that just rages with an intensity of Amon Amarth on their Viking rage, or it's got the groove stomp like Pantera, or mellow death. It's got exotic rhythms to drive home the Greek atmosphere, because obviously, if you could not tell from the title, Prometheus, this is an album which tells the story of Prometheus and his judgment and then his punishment at the hands of the Greek gods. Mythology is just like a wonderful treasure trove for metal. There are even sections on this album that feel closer to power metal or just classic heavy metal, at the very least. And it's the post prefix, the post-black metal, which makes this even more accessible. There are instrumental tracks here, full-on instrumental tracks. And even those tracks with the black metal vocals, after long sections without them, feel a lot more acceptable. This album just slays. And if I had to be punished by Greek gods for an eternity, this is the type of album that I would want done in my honor. So let's jump into it. So this is the song that's got the like kind of Amon Amarth Viking energy. There's the black metal vocals, but they're also buried pretty far down in the mix, right? Like, the guitar tracks, the drums are all on top of them. um, Amon, sorry, that you'll be familiar with, like, sort of, they're like Viking metal. This feels very much like that. But, I mean, let's just jump around. This is going to be the one that's got a bit of the like classic heavy metal, like not exactly Judas Priest or Iron Maiden or anything of that era, but also not that far removed from it. Also instrumental. This is probably like the most black metal the album gets. And like even then it's not, it's like a relatively small section, right? Because when we get into this sort of groovy little bit right back here. And I mentioned Melodeath. I think it's back towards the end here. Yeah. Yep. There's the Melodeath. Just very, very good metal album. Throw us back into an instrumental track here to kind of a bit of a sorbet refresher. This is not even all that intense. Like, I don't know, it's such a good album. Such a good album. It's heavy, but it dances between so many different sounds and so many different genres within metal that, like I said, even though it is technically a black metal album, technically a post-black metal album, it's so much more than that. Like, anyway, if you like metal, I'm sure you heard a number of songs there that are kind of familiar, but also obviously doing their own thing. This is Prometheus. The group is Belethor. This is their debut album. It's a trio out of Samara, and this is hands down like the best thing I listened to this week. This right here is probably one of the best metal albums I've listened to so far this year. So I'm just going to throw that out there. And yeah, that's kind of going to do it up for me. So yep, that is it for music this week. I largely stuck to, not largely, I stuck to the May releases still. I honestly, as of yesterday evening, I had whittled the list down to about like 4 hours worth of music. And then this morning when I was like going through and looking at what releases had come out, it jumped back up to like 8, but now it's back down to 6. So I think realistically, I can kind of keep ahead of the curve here a little bit with May, which is wild. We'll see. Tomorrow is the first Friday that hasn't been a weekend this month, so it is possible that everyone has just been waiting to dump everything now. But maybe it's one of those things where it's like in December, nobody really releases music because it's the end of the year with the holidays and end of year lists. Maybe May is kind of like that here in Russia, where people just kind of avoid it and put off their releases until June. Unless you're metal, I guess, because nobody really cares at that point in time. Like I said, the metal community will find the releases as they come out, regardless of what they're doing. Yeah. Anyway, that does it for music this week. I am going to wrap this up. I hope everyone saw something or heard something that was of interest. And yeah, I'll be back with more music next Thursday, also at 10 p.m. Moscow time. And then I'll be back here on Sunday evening at 9 p.m. Moscow time to do the news once again. Obviously, the whole what's going on in Istanbul, blah, blah, blah. But we'll talk about that on Sunday. Until then, everyone have a nice evening, a nice day, whatever time of the day it is when you're watching this. I will, you take care of yourselves. I will see you when I see you. Until then, пока-пока.